Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivado. Guys, we are 1 day away from the 2022 NFL Draft. I am so freaking excited. I have no idea what the Giants are going to do. Of course, they're the rumors: Evan Neal, Sauce Gardner, Kayvon Thibodeau, all these amazing prospects. But at the end of the day, Joe Shane could go in any which direction. He could trade back. He can go for a wide receiver. People have been saying maybe they go for a Garrett Wilson at 7. There's so many different avenues the Giants can go. But we want to take a last stab at a mock draft and kind of just take a look to see what players are on the board in a mock scenario for the Giants. We're going to use PFFs, see what their updated model looks like, see what players they're kind of valuing in the top 5. I kind of know who I want, but Anthony and I will make our arguments for each selection. And, he has the premium version, so they will suggest trade offers as well. We can accept or not. So I'm really interested to see what PFF has to offer us in terms of trades, because I know the Giants are considering trading down. They've taken calls for the 7th overall pick. Before we dive into the final mock draft for the 2022 offseason, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We're using the Draft Network, and they're the platform that offers trades, and it's really exciting. We'll take a look at that, especially because we know that the Giants have been openly trying to move down from the 7th spot. According to Daniel Jeremiah and other insiders, the Giants would, quote, love to move down from the 7th spot. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Merry Draftmas Eve, right? The draft is tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm super excited. All the anticipation, all of the rumors, all of the trade rumors. Of course, James Bradberry, there's rumors going around about him. He's not making it out of the weekend, apparently. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes down over the next couple of days during the draft, and I can't wait to watch it all unfold. It's always just chaos and mayhem, but it's the most fun and exciting thing that happens in the NFL, arguably. I know there's people that prefer to watch the NFL draft compared to the Super Bowl. I've seen that argument on Twitter. People really love the NFL draft, and I'm definitely one of those people. I love the Super Bowl a little bit more, but I love the NFL draft, and I can't wait to see what the Giants do. Joe Shane, Brian Dable, this new brain trust that the Giants have, I can't wait to see them in their first official draft with the New York Giants. What are they going to do, right? There's so many questions. They got so many different routes and options that they can take. Edge defender, that needs to be addressed. Offensive tackle needs to be addressed. Corner needs to be addressed. Giants have a lot of needs on this roster. Let's see if Joe Shane can live up to the hype and deliver with a solid draft class.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really freaking exciting, and you mentioned before that people like the draft more than the Super Bowl, and if you're a Giants fan, yes, we do like the draft more than the Super Bowl the last 5 or 6 years, because that's where we make that's where we have the most fun in the top 10 picks, where we seem to live. And I'd rather be in the Super Bowl, of course, but hopefully Joe Shane and co can really build this roster up. There are a few financial decisions coming up in the next couple of days after the draft, notably James Bradberry and Darius Slayton. So James Bradberry, if traded, the Giants will save $12.1 million and just $10.1 million, I believe, if they cut him. Darius Slayton, on the other hand, they would save about $2.5 million if they trade or cut him. But at the end of the day, some people might say he's worth $2.5 million. His hands 18% drop rate last year, really, really struggled. I don't think his hand issue is going to go away anytime soon. I think that's kind of something he's going to have to live with at the NFL level. But ultimately, maybe Brian Dable can get the most out of it. Maybe Mike Kaff can get the most out of Darius Slayton. We will see, Anthony. But let's jump right into the final mock draft. Okay, so guys, jumping into the final mock draft here. Of course, Jaguars up first. This is a big question mark for me. Where are the Jaguars going to go here? Is it Trayvon Walker? Is it Aiden Hutchinson? I think ultimately they go with Aiden Hutchinson. I think Trayvon Walker has a little bit more of a different, skill set, and he's more versatile. But I think Aiden Hutchinson is the best pure pass rusher in this draft class, and I think they go with a smart move here, and they go with Hutchinson. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Aiden Hutchinson is the most likely selection, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jaguars swing for the fences with a guy like Trayvon Walker. Of course, he's got that insane athleticism. He's kind of like the highest ceiling prospect because he's just such a moldable prospect. So whatever team drafts him is just going to hope that their coaching staff does the right job and turns him into a superstar. So I could see the Jags going there, but ultimately you could also argue they are a team that just needs to get good players, doesn't need projects, doesn't need to swing for the fences. They just need to get good players. And I think that Aiden Hutchinson, as the baseline, the highest floor out of all these prospects just entering the season. I think he's going to be the best out of those edge prospects and out of any defender in this draft class. I think that he's the most likely to be defensive rookie of the year. So I think they're going to go with Aiden Hutchinson. But let's go ahead and hit start the draft in the top right, and it'll run through the first 4 picks, simulate those, and then it'll be time for the Giants to pick at number 5.
Okay, Hutchinson makes sense. We got a trade offer from the Falcons. I really like trading with the Falcons personally because they are still in a good spot. They have the 8th overall pick, so we don't have to move back very far, and we can still get some draft capital. I do. What are they offering there?
So
Round
they're
one,
offering the 8th pick,
two.
which would be moving back 3 spots, and they're also offering their 2nd round pick in this year's draft and the 5th round pick in
They
next
want the
year's draft.
fifth. They want the 5th pick. I don't know if I'm willing to give up the 5th pick though. If you're getting the 2nd round pick, that's tough. That's a really good trade offer, but I don't. I think I go with Evan. Who? So okay, are we able to see who's already been off the board
We
here?
can go ahead and just close this and then go back to it. So off the
All
board,
right.
no offensive tackles are off the board just yet.
Okay. I think right now. That's interesting. That's really interesting because you're still guaranteed one of those top 3 offensive tackles at 7,
Mhm.
and Derek Stingley or even a Jermaine Johnson at 8. I think you do that trade, honestly. I think
Yeah,
you do
I don't
that
know if
trade.
that's the most realistic trade, to be completely honest. I don't see the Falcons moving up from the 8th overall pick, but if I was offered that trade, move
Let's see
back
what they
3 spots,
take.
you know that you're getting one of the offensive tackles and you're only moving
Yeah.
back 3 spots to get them, and you're getting an additional 2nd round pick, I would probably do it. But Alex, I'll give you
Yeah.
final say on it, whether or not you want to run it,
Let's
because again, it doesn't sound like the most realistic offer.
Okay, so if it's not realistic, let's decline it and stay at 5.
All right, let's go ahead. So, who's your pick then? Because I know who mine is, who I think the Giants are going to take. If I really had to place my money on who the Giants are taking with the 5th pick, if this is the draft board, personally, I think they are going with Evan Neal. I think that is their favorite offensive tackle prospect. I know that there's a lot of different rumors surrounding the Giants and which tackle they prefer. A lot of people are saying that the Giants' favorite offensive tackle prospect is actually Charles Cross out of
Yep.
Mississippi State. I've heard that rumor a whole lot, but I've also heard the rumor that Evan Neal is their favorite. And personally, I'm going to side with the rumor that their favorite is Evan Neal. The reason being, he is a right tackle. Like, he played left tackle this past season at Alabama, but the Giants do need a right tackle, and Evan Neal has the experience playing both guard and right tackle. So I think day one, he's going to have the greatest impact for the Giants. And I think that he does have a super high floor. He's a really good prospect who's good in run blocking, pass blocking, and he's got all the fundamentals. He's 6'8", 350 pounds almost. He is just an absolute beast. And I think that he makes the best right tackle out of the prospects at the top, because as much as I love Charles Cross is a guy that you want to be a left tackle. And I don't think the Giants are really keen on moving Andrew Thomas across the line. So for me personally, I think the pick is going to be Evan Neal, but I'm curious to hear what you think, Alex.
Yeah, well, I was looking at how many collegiate snaps each top 3 offensive tackle had at right tackle, and just to give you some insight, Charles Cross has 4 snaps in college at right tackle. Ikem Ekwonu has 1 snap at right tackle, and Evan Neal has over 700. So we know what player is capable of playing right tackle immediately. I think if the Giants want to go with the immediate starter that isn't going to have much of a transition phase, it's going to be Evan Neal, and he has the most upside. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I'd say he has as much upside as anybody. I think some people will say that Ikem Ekwonu or Charles Cross have more upside, but Evan Neal, in my opinion, is the most well-rounded player. And another reason to for the Giants to like him, he's extremely dependable. The guy never missed a game and never missed a practice at Alabama, and they run an NFL level program there. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at Evan Neal, not only is he dependable, but he's a freaking stud, and he has a right tackle experience. Anthony, this is the easy pick for me. This is Evan Neal, and it's not even blinking. I know I like Ikem Ekwonu and I like Charles Cross, but Evan Neal, it's not even a question. I think they go Evan Neal. It's easy.
Yeah, personally, I don't even think Evan Neal is the favorite offensive tackle prospect for me. I just think he's the best fit for the Giants because he has the history playing the right tackle position. So honestly, if the Giants needed both tackle spots, I think I might even go with Charles Cross. I think he might be my favorite tackle prospect just because of his ceiling and his pass blocking ability. But I agree with you. For the Giants, this is a no-brainer. They need that right tackle. They need Evan Neal. So let's go ahead and see what comes up here for the seventh overall pick. The Giants do have some trade offers. Of course, that is really realistic because we have heard that the Giants have been discussing trades with other teams behind them. So they've got this one right here from the Texans, which would be the 13th pick, moving back 6 spots, and also getting a third and a fourth round pick for the seventh overall. Then they have this one with the Saints, the 16th pick, the second round pick, third round pick, and fifth round pick to move up to 7. And also from the Packers offering the 22nd and 28th overall picks in this year's draft and a fifth rounder. So what are you thinking here, Alex? So these are pretty interesting
Hmm.
offers.
So what's the first one again? Let me see that first
Number
one.
13 overall by the Texans, moving back 6 spots and also getting an additional third and fourth round pick, which is a pretty good offer.
I
One
don't
thing
like
that I'll
that.
notice is that none of these offers include a 2023 first round pick. And
Hmm.
I probably am in the train where if I'm the Giants, I'm probably taking the best player available at 7 overall if I'm not getting a first round pick in next year's draft to move back.
Well, who did Carolina take in this scenario?
It's not
They probably
showing,
got one of
so
those. They probably
I'll
got
have
the
to try and
offensive line.
memorize these. And they took Ike Ekwonu.
Oh, okay. So you got Jermaine Johnson and Derek Stingley here. Okay, look. I think you stay put. You know what I mean? You don't right now, okay. This is the argument we have to make because last year the Giants did this and they missed out on Micah Parsons and Rashawn Slater and they could have solved the offensive line. They could have solved their pass rushes. He's Ojolari and Micah Parsons together. I mean, insane. But regardless, you know, you're looking at Derek Stingley and Jermaine Johnson. Those are the two players that I believe are who we're talking about right now. Jermaine Johnson could very well be a top 5 pick. You know, he is a top 7 talent. He has arguably the most upside of any pass rusher in this draft class. It's kind of it's you could put any of those top 4 guys, Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker, and Jermaine Johnson. They're all kind of in that same realm of upside. Derek Stingley, on the other hand, I did a film breakdown with him with D-Backs Academy yesterday, Brian Walker, our good friend. And I'll tell you what, if Derek Stingley can stay healthy at the NFL level, he's going to be the best cornerback in this draft class, and it's not going to be close. This guy is legitimately a lockdown corner. Problem is, the last time he had a full season of play was 2019. Can you depend on Derek Stingley to be healthy? He's coming off Lisfranc injury. A lot of people say, I'm scared of Lisfranc injury, blah, 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 blah. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. We saw Evan Ingram go through it. He recovered. He was totally fine athletically. He was not limited whatsoever by it after he
Xavier
recovered.
McKinney as well. And Xavier
Xavier
McKinney is
McKinney,
definitely the better comparison to make because they play a similar
totally.
position in the defensive back group.
Absolutely. So, looking at Xavier McKinney's another great example. He seems to be fully healthy. I'm not worried about Derek Stingley and the Lisfranc injury. He had another leg issue before that. Ultimately, though, that is the concern you're taking. That's the risk you're taking. Are you willing to go out on a limb and say Derek Stingley, if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the better cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback from this draft class? I think that his skill set and the way that he plays when he's at the top of his game, there may not be, we could be seeing the next generational cornerback with Derek Stingley. I swear, like that is how good his film is from 2019. And that was when he was a freshman. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't, excuse me, been able to really put his best foot forward. So Anthony, when you're looking at this, if you're going to go best player available, do you go Derek Stingley or do you go Jermaine Johnson? Because it's tough because like on one side, Jermaine Johnson is like this upside pass rusher that you could be unbelievable in Wink Martindale's system, but Wink Martindale's system really relies heavily on cornerback play, and Derek Stingley can survive on an island without any safety help. He has unbelievable makeup speed, some of the best speed of a cornerback you're going to see. So that's another reason to really like him. So if you're trying to determine between those two guys, who do you think you're going with?
Yeah, for me personally, if I'm the New York Giants, I'm not 100% sure if Derek Stingley's on my first round draft board just because of the injury history. Like, it's a legitimate concern he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I think that the Giants are a team that have been dealing with a lot of injuries over the course of the past few years. There's a lot that's been said about the MetLife Stadium turf, how frequently players get injured on it. And honestly, I think that the Giants are in a position right now where they need a player that's completely dependable and they know is going to be out there and is going to be healthy, right? We saw last season when every single wide receiver was injured, when our running back was injured, when we had offensive tackles and interior offensive linemen injured, quarterback injury, cornerback injuries, linebackers injuries, safeties injuries. You get what I'm saying? We had injuries everywhere last year. And I think right now what the Giants need is dependability. For me personally, I feel like Jermaine Johnson is a more dependable option. And I think that he's playing a position of a greater need, right? Because I think cornerback, yes, that's a need for the Giants, especially after this weekend concludes. They're going to trade away James Bradbury. We know that. So we already know that they're planning ahead and looking for corners to draft. But personally, edge rusher is the more important position for the Giants to address here. If I were in this spot with this draft board, no Sauce Gardner, because Sauce Gardner is a little bit more dependable and doesn't have that extensive of an injury history. Kayvon Thibodeau also off the board. Personally, this is a trade down spot for me if I'm the Giants, because Derek Stingley being the best player, a team in the back who's got more of that ability to take players that might have some risks, they are going to trade up for Derek Stingley, and I would take advantage of that. But me personally, in this spot, if we're sticking and picking, I am going with Jermaine Johnson here at the 7th overall pick, because I like his dependability and I like his impact, not only as a run defender, but also as a pass rusher. He does it both, and he does it both really well. So I like Jermaine Johnson with the 7th pick here.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely justifiable. I keep going back to myself and saying I think that Derek Stingley, if he's healthy, could be elite. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like Jermaine Johnson, I'm not
Otherworldly
sure.
potential. Derek Stingley
Like
has otherworldly potential, and
right.
like you mentioned, that speed, that makeup speed, you don't even need a safety over top. I mean, he
He's
would
Darrell
thrive,
Revis.
especially in that. Yeah, he would thrive in that man coverage scheme that the Giants love to play with Wink Martindale. We assume so. I think that he really could be a phenomenal player for the Giants. But like I said, the Giants need players that are dependable right now. They need to build this roster, and they need to build it with guys that they know are going to be on the field. This is a
Yeah.
rebuild,
Yeah.
and when you're rebuilding, you need dependability. So personally, Jermaine Johnson, I think he's arguably the most dependable edge rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson in this year's class. He has a very high floor in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that probably is the determining factor. Ultimately, it comes down to health, and I love Stingley, but I think I have to agree. Like we'll go with Jermaine Johnson here just because reliability is super important, and the Giants have just been absolutely plagued by injuries the last couple of years. So let's go with Johnson.
Alrighty, Johnson selected. Let's see.
Kyler Lum,
Interesting. Kyrie Elam
14.
went pretty early
Malik
there.
Willis at 16.
hmm
Zion John, Trevor Penning. Chris
Looks
Olave is going to be a
like,
stud for the Patriots.
oh man. So I don't know if you saw that, but the pick one prior to us or two prior to us was Tyler Linderbaum. I was hoping and praying he would fall to us
Oh,
at 36. Honestly, in a real life scenario, if I'm the Giants and we're picking at 36 and the 33rd overall pick or 34th overall pick in the draft ends up being Tyler Linderbaum, I'm probably trying to make a trade up and get him if he really does fall into the second round. Let's say that the Giants, like, let's just throw this scenario out there. Giants go through day one. Tyler Linderbaum is not drafted. Going into day two, if I'm the Giants, I'm making calls to get up
move
3
up.
picks and make sure that I get Tyler
Neil
Linderbaum. That's just
Linderbaum.
how I feel.
Ooh, Neil
Yeah, I mean,
Linderbaum though.
imagine that offensive line for the next 10 years. Andrew Thomas, Tyler Linderbaum, and Evan Neal. Yeah, I like that. But anyway, there are a couple trade offers here from the Browns. We can move back 8 spots and also get an additional 6th and 7th round pick. In my opinion, not worth it. 6th and 7th round picks, especially in a mock draft, not really that valuable. Other trade here, move back 10 spots, get a 5th and a 7th overall pick. Again, I think there are so many day one starters available early on in this year's second round. The 36th overall pick can legitimately yield you a day one starter this year in this year's class. So I'm sticking and picking here personally. That's how I feel, Alex.
Yeah, let's stick because 5 and a 7. That's not
Mhm.
you're just not worth it. Who's on the board here?
So some
David
interesting names
Ojabo.
here. Of course, at the top, you've got 2 quarterbacks. Really interesting to see that Desmond Ritter and Sam Howell are both available here. It is something that I would consider if I were the New York Giants to take one of these quarterbacks if they did feel a type of
I
way. If they
really
felt
like
like
Desmond Ritter.
they felt like they had a late first round grade on a Desmond Ritter and he was there in round 2, they would probably need to consider drafting him, considering that Daniel Jones is, going into his final year of his contract and hasn't really proven himself. But there is a name that's sticking out to me here. David Ajabo, yeah, really like him, but injury, so not
We
really a
also got
fit for the
Jermaine
Giants.
Johnson.
Yeah, plus you have Jermaine Johnson. Don't need to add 2 pass rushers back to back. But here's a name that I really like at the top of the second round. It's Jalen Petrie out of Baylor. I really like him as a safety prospect. The Giants lost to Logan Ryan. They lost Jabril Peppers. They do need to add a safety on the back end to work in tandem with Xavier McKinney. And I think that Jalen Petrie kind of fitting that strong safety role, that hybrid role. He plays a lot in the box as an inside and as an outside linebacker. I really like the things that he brings to the table. But of course, we've also talked pretty extensively, Alex, about a couple of these linebacker prospects that are going to be available at the top of the second round, like Chad Muma, Leo Chenal. So we got some really good defensive options up on the board right here. Interior offensive line, I don't think I'm taking Tyler Smith this early. That's not a fit for me, but curious to hear what you think about some of the guys that I just mentioned.
So, okay, so here's what I'm stuck between. I'm stuck between going with a safety and Jalen Petre or a Leo Chanel. I think Leo Chanel would be a phenomenal fit for the Giants. Powerful downhill. He can rush. He can rush the passer. Like he's a powerful dude. I think he would fit Wink Martindale's system pretty nicely. And he can also stop the run well. But then again, you look at the safety position. That's also an important spot for the Giants. Can you trust Xavier McKinney and Julian Love to get it done? Personally, I trust them. I actually feel pretty confident that the tandem of Julian Love and Xavier McKinney will hold it down. I think they're good players. With that being said, I think we should go with linebacker. I think that Blake Martinez coming off a torn ACL, I do not trust Tay Crowder one single bit. So let's go and give Blake Martinez a little bit of help and maybe the future at Mike linebacker there. Why don't we consider, what do you think, between Chad Muma and Leo Chanel?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I really like Jalen Petrie as a selection here. I agree with your train of thought. I think Leo Chanel is going to be our pick here. I think his playing style is very similar to Blake Martinez. I think Blake Martinez is a perfect player for him to learn from. They have very similar strengths, weaknesses, and playing styles. Really like Leo Chanel here. If Blake Martinez is viewed by Wink Martindale as a great scheme fit, then he's definitely going to look at Leo Chanel as a great scheme fit and a long-term scheme fit, because we know that Blake Martinez, coming off of an injury, just had his contract restructured. He's probably only here for this season and then he's gone. Let's be real about it. Sucks. I really like Blake Martinez, but he's probably not having a long-term future with the Giants. But Leo Chanel, rookie, second-round pick, very similar playing style. I think that he could thrive in this defensive scheme. But one thing that I'll say is Jalen Petrie is a safety, but he's also a linebacker, so he could actually fill in some of those gaps there at the linebacker position. You can view him as an upgrade at both safety and linebacker. And he also played a lot of slot corner as well. So he really does it all. I really like Jalen Petrie, kind of one of those Swiss Army knife players. But then again, that is kind of what we have Xavier McKinney for. So I am going to opt for the linebacker pick here as well. And personally, I like Leo Chanel just a tad more than Chad Muma. So that's going to be my pick here, Alex.
All right, say less. We're going with Leo Chanel out of Wisconsin. Get that
Perfect.
linebacker position a little bit more love.
Yes,
Now the
sir.
third round. The third round's in, by the way, Brees Hall, one of my favorite players in this draft. He's going to be a stud.
Well, if he's still on the board, you have an opportunity here to maybe
He
take
just
him
got
because
scooped. He just got
yeah.
scooped, I think, by
All right, then. I think we're
Baltimore.
just
Or
gonna
maybe not.
decline this trade then. I don't think the Giants are in a position to make any trade ups in this year's draft, personally. Give up a third and a fourth to move up to the 48th overall pick.
No. Let's stay
Okay.
put.
Well, we can see who is all right. Same thing, but it's next year's fourth to move up to the 50th overall pick.
Uh,
Honestly, that's a
what
deal
the,
that I would make. Again, I don't know how realistic we consider these trades to be, but moving
I
up
don't.
17 spots and giving up a fourth next year, I'd definitely do that.
I think we're okay, just because I think that in the third round we're looking at probably a tight end or a running back. Personally,
Right.
because I know they like James Cook.
Okay, we're getting trade offers out the wazoo. I'm just going to go ahead and decline
Yeah.
them.
David
Just going to move
Ojabo,
forward.
50, man. He dropped to
Jabo
Aziz
fell.
Ojolari spot. Did Jalen Petrie dropped to 60.
Yep, that's definitely a tumble there. So trade down offers. Personally, I don't want to trade down nearly 20 or 30 picks
Yeah,
in the third
we're already
round.
here.
Yep,
I don't think
let's just
so.
stick and pick here.
All right, let's see what we got. Sam Howell's dropping like a rock.
So an interesting name
John
that I see right
Mechie.
off the bat is Nick Benito. Now I know that we went with Jermaine Johnson, but I view Jermaine Johnson as a 3-down edge rusher, and I view Nick
Mhm.
Benito as a perfect rotational pass rusher. So that's somebody that I still would consider in the third round, even if we drafted an edge rusher in the first, because I really like
Yeah.
him as a prospect. Trey McBride, top tight end prospect here.
Yep.
He's a pretty good prospect, and Dylan Parham. And Darian Kinnard. I actually like both of those interior offensive line prospects. So some pretty big names to consider right here.
So I think that we go with our tight end here because I know the Giants just got it, just brought in Jordan Akins. They have Ricky Seals Jones, but ultimately we need a young guy to develop. And I think Trey McBride is a stud. He's the best tight end in this class. I know they also like Jelani Woods. So, maybe is he already off the board? Is Jelani Woods still there? Because I know I
Jelani
see
Woods.
Isaiah
Let's take a look
Likely.
at the tight end board. All the tight ends. Jelani Woods is
Oh, he's
projected to go pretty late. He's
all right.
104th on this prospect list.
So we're
Also, I
looking
do
at a
really like Jeremy Ruckert. I think that he
me
can go a
too.
lot higher than people are anticipating. And I could imagine a scenario where he's not even on the board with this pick for the
Yeah,
Giants, because I think that
the
Jeremy
tight
Ruckert's going to
ends.
have a lot of value as a run blocker from NFL
Yeah.
teams.
The tight ends seem pretty deep, honestly, right now. So let's not go with a tight end. Maybe let's look.
Okay.
Is James Cook still on the board here?
James Cook, running back out of Georgia, is on the board,
He's
91st
at
overall
91.
prospect. But keep in
You think
mind the
I'm
Giants are
late?
picking once again at 81 overall,
Right, right, right.
so I could see us
What's the
potentially
best
waiting
player?
on the running back there. Best
Let's go to
player
odds right
available is
now.
Sam Howell. Somehow Sam Howell has dropped to the third round. Um,
Let's go with the. I could see the Giants going with like a Darian Kinnard right now to plug that
I
left
could
guard
too.
spot.
I could too. Somebody to develop there. Darian Kinnard has experience playing tackle as well.
That's true.
They project that he'll move inside to guard, but it's always good to have a little versatility. Let's say Andrew Thomas goes down with another injury, God forbid, knock on wood. But
Hmm.
if he were to go down with an injury, I like Darian Kinnard potentially sliding out to tackle in a scenario like that. But he's also sized to play guard, and I think that he can be a pretty good developmental guard in the third round. So I'm down for Darian Kinnard if you are.
Let's go with Darian Kinnard.
Okay, Darian Kinnard out of Kentucky. Good pick
All
there.
right. Trey McBride's off to the Jags. Okay, a bunch of tight ends just got scooped up. Isaiah Likely off the board too. Don't take my guy Jeremy Ruckert. Nick
Yeah.
Bonino just
Wow,
went.
this is like the worst trade offer I've ever seen. Just gonna decline that.
What do you think? What do you think about? What do you think about Ruckert or James Cook? I think those are the two guys we should be picking between right now, or Jelani Woods.
Yeah, personally, you know me. I'm not the biggest draft a running back kind of guy. I feel like you can find
It's
those
true.
really late in the draft. Like I feel like the Giants could probably get a decent running back in the fifth round that could actually be a developmental starter. That's how I feel. So tight end, you can definitely find them in the later rounds, but round three is usually a pretty good value to find the starting tight end. And you know me, I really do like Jeremy Ruckert. I think he's a
Me
great
too.
prospect out of Ohio State, played at a great school.
Great
Um,
hands.
He's got really dependable hands, yeah, and he's also a phenomenal run blocker, so he contributes in a couple of ways. So, especially keep that in mind where the Giants just drafted in this scenario a rookie offensive tackle, rookie right tackle, and the tight end is going to be lining up next to him. You could get a really good run blocking tight end here, or even he's also a good pass protector, Jeremy Rucker. He's just a good blocker from the tight end spot. It's kind of like having an additional offensive tackle playing alongside your struggling rookie offensive tackle because every rookie offensive tackle has their struggles, right? So that's kind of really good situation if you do get a good blocker for a tight end to be right next to that rookie offensive tackle, help him develop and kind of mask some of his flaws and deficiencies throughout the season.
Yeah, looking at Jeremy Ruckert last season, 309 yards and 3 touchdown catches. Over the last 3 years, he has 12 touchdown receptions. The guy's a red zone phenom, right? The thing is, he's been buried on the depth chart by tons of receivers. Garrett Wilson last year with Ohio State. And I think that in a system that actually uses him as a receiver and actually throws the ball to him, he's going to feast. He has really, really good hands. The dude does not drop the football. We know all too much about Evan Ingram dropping the football. This guy won't do that. At least on when you watch his film, when you watch how dependable he is, he doesn't miss. He doesn't drop easy catches. And he has a big frame to even box out some guys too. So I think here I really like Jeremy Rucker. I think that with Andy Bischoff coming over from Baltimore, help develop Mark Andrews. I see a lot of Mark Andrews and Jeremy Rucker. I really think that he could develop him into a player. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Mark Andrews, but I think he could develop him into a really, really talented player that can fit our scheme really nicely. Looking at what Buffalo did with Dawson Knox, they used him a lot in the red zone. Good run blocker, a good enough run blocker, and they use him in the receiving game pretty frequently. I could see Jeremy Rucker playing that role very, very easily, and I could see him even becoming an even more important part of the offense as he develops. So I think that we go Rucker here. He's been one of my favorite draft crushes this entire time. I think now is my chance and your chance too to really to make it happen.
Yeah, I think we're in total agreement on this one. And again, he's one of your biggest draft crushes. Mine as well. I love Jeremy Ruckert as a third round value. I think it's tremendous. So let's go ahead and take Jeremy Ruckert and see what we can do entering the fourth round. Jeremy Ruckert, great pick. So far, looking at my picks, Evan Neal, Jermaine
Great,
Johnson, Leo Chanel,
great
Darian
draft.
Kinnard, and Jeremy Ruckert, knocking it out of the park
We
here.
didn't get a
Um,
corner, but I think we
we
give
do
Aaron
need to address the
Robinson the
cornerback
chance.
position.
But here's the thing, though. Hear me out. Hear me out. Look what the Jets did last year. They didn't have any cornerbacks, no cornerbacks. Their defense wasn't good, but they weren't terrible either. I think that you can let your young guys develop. You don't need to draft a cornerback all the time. Aaron Robinson, Rodarius Williams, let them compete, let them develop. In a worst case scenario, the Giants have $100 million next year to go sign a CB2 alongside Adoree Jackson, or they can draft a guy. Like they do have options. You don't need to draft a corner in the first round. It's not an absolute necessity. Plus, James Bradbury is still on the roster. Like maybe they somehow figure out how to save some money. I don't know how, but there are ways. That's just another thought process. But I do think they're going to trade James Bradbury over the weekend, probably. With that being the case, I still don't see it as a necessity to draft a corner. Let some of those young guys compete, and plug some positions that can impact this team right now, and build for the future, because the Giants ultimately need offensive weapons and they need them. They need them now. So let's take a look at who's on the board here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw a name out here that I like, Brian Robinson Jr., running back out of
I saw
Alabama.
that.
He's someone that has a connection to Brian Dable as well. Brian Dable coached him at Alabama in 2017 before he headed over to Buffalo to coach with the Bills. I really like Brian Robinson Jr. I think he's a great player to develop alongside Saquon Barkley. Can be kind of your bruising running back. He's a real downhill runner, so maybe not a perfect scheme fit with what the Giants might be doing. I think they're going to be running a bit more wide zone rather than power. But Ryan Robinson Jr. I like here. I think that he's also somebody who can contribute as a pass protector. And I think that short yardage situations, as it says here on the Draft Network, a real bruiser type. And honestly, somebody who kind of just sat behind a lot of other great running backs. Who's to say he couldn't have been the next great Alabama running back? He was sitting behind Najee Harris, Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, seeing that right there on the Draft Network as well. This is a player that I think, once given a real opportunity, could make the most of it. And so I really like Brian Robinson Jr. here. I think this is where the Giants should find their running back in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you look what Buffalo has, they have Zach Moss and they have Devin Singletary. Two different types of running backs. Saquon Barkley is kind of your glorified scat back at this point. We don't know really what he's going to do. We do know he is really shifty and has a lot of agility. So Brian Robinson, he kind of gives me like you said, Josh Jacobs. When you say like bruising, I think of like Rashad Jennings sometimes. His style, he's kind of like I think that having a bruiser would be good for Daniel Jones, because he needs a good pass protecting running back at this point. Saquon Barkley is not a good pass protecting running back. He never has been. So Brian Robinson, if he's capable of being a good pass pro running back that can help in play action and do those type of things, even just squeak out after just delivering a block, like that's all you need him to be, and then just pick up those short yardage situation scenarios, just get those yards and churn out those yards. So maybe Brian Robinson is a good move here. Maybe he is.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think we should go with Brian Robinson. I think really every weakness that we say about Saquon Barkley, he's too much of a scat back, he's bad in pass protection, he doesn't get the short yardage stuff. That's everything that Brian Robinson does. He's a short yardage back. He's great in pass protection. I think that he's really just a perfect complement to Saquon Barkley. That's going to be my pick here, if you agree.
All right. Let's do it. Let's
All
run it.
right, let's
Fourth
go
round
ahead. And I also
RB.
really like the Brian Dable connection. So yeah,
Yeah.
flying through here, entering into the fifth round in just a second, taking
Ooh,
a look at the
Jelani Woods
picks once
dropped
again.
deep.
Addressing the offense and the defense almost evenly here, but probably need to go ahead and address cornerback rather soon, and maybe safety as well. But let's see what's on the board for us with the 147th overall pick. Take a look at the board and let me know what you're thinking, Alex.
147. What positions? Okay, so we already addressed OT, edge, safety. Maybe we go with a defensive back here, or a
Yeah,
wide
I think
receiver.
this is.
Let's see the wide receivers, and let's see the DBs.
Yep, let's take a look at wide receivers. One name that does stand out to me is
I
Justin
like them.
Ross.
I like
Justin Ross
Justin
is
Ross.
nice, but I think he's probably someone that we could compare to Kenny Galladay in his playing style. Real big outside threat, and that could potentially be something that the Giants need.
Yeah, I mean,
Another
you
outside
always
guy to
need a
develop.
backup, especially with Kenny Galladay's injury history. Having a guy that could
Correct.
complement his talents makes sense to
Mhm.
me.
Some cornerbacks, though. A Caleb Evans out of Missouri. Not too familiar with him, or Chase Lucas out of Arizona State. But at this point in the draft, we are getting down to the nitty gritty anyway. So a lot of these guys are going to be players that are lesser known. But I will say Justin Ross, I do know him. I've watched some film on him. I do like what he brings to the table as one of those contested catch receivers. I'm usually in preference for the receivers that separate, the route runners. But I think, considering Kenny Galladay's injury history, Justin Ross might be a good selection here.
All right, let's grab him. Let's grab Justin Ross.
Justin Ross is the pick. So, once again, skipping out on the defensive backs, we're going to have to take one at some point.
We should probably go
Probably
on a
going to have
little
to focus
streak.
on that soon here. Yeah.
Yeah, going to maybe two DBs or a safety in a corner. Let's see what's on the board here.
Yep. A lot of running backs and receivers at the top of the board. So maybe our last two picks might not have been the best value. Maybe we didn't have proper foresight, but Personally, my opinion, you just take the best corner or safety available at this point. The Giants just need to get some needs addressed this deep into the draft.
That is facts. Let's see. Let's see some corners or safeties here. I
Corners,
mean, I
Zion
don't know
McCollum. I've
none of these
definitely
guys.
heard of Zion McCollum. Definitely seen some stuff about him on Twitter.
Oh, I did. Okay, so he's like their he was Sam Houston
Six foot
State's like
four. That's pretty tall.
he's their number one corner, but he also got torched like a lot. So there's that. He wasn't prone, they attack him. Quarterbacks do
Mhm.
attack him. So I didn't get the sense that he was like he's a mid-round developmental guy, or he's not starting right away. So if he has the good frame and good athletics, that's all you really need at this point.
Yeah. I will say he was at the Senior Bowl, 13 interceptions, 54 pass breakups, and 56 games in college is a pretty impressive stat line. So he definitely had a lot of production, but it seems like he's a zone fit. But I don't know. This could be somebody that I could see the Giants maybe taking a chance on late in the draft and developing.
Yeah,
All
I can
right,
see
let's
that.
go. Let's go ahead with Zion McCollum then and see what comes next. Picking
Yeah,
at
he gave up 371 yards last year, 55.4% completion percentage, and 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
That's not a bad stat line at all. But
It's
back on
not
the
that
board
bad
here at 182, only needs that we haven't addressed so far are safety and technically quarterback. If you do view that as a need, personally, I'm
at this
probably not.
point.
I'm probably not spending a late round pick on a
What
quarterback
quarterbacks
in
are on
this
the
year's
board right
draft
now?
class.
Anyway, I just want to see who was on the board.
I mean,
Give
De'Aaron
me,
King is the only
go,
one I
give
really
me. Let's draft. Let's go.
recognize.
Go ahead and draft Bailey Zapp. I've heard a lot of
Okay,
good things about Bailey Zapp.
have you?
I have. Not.
Okay.
I can't. I can't recall any of them, but I've recalled people saying that they liked Bailey Zapp. So I'll show those people a little bit of love.
Okay, let's just go with
Well,
Bailey Zapp.
I'll tell you his stats right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Bailey Zapp out of
Personally, I would have went with a corner or safety once again there, but Bailey Zapp
we
is a
got
pick. He
Rodarius
was Alex
Williams. We got
Cesaro.
some guys. So Bailey Zapp is out of Western Kentucky, 6'1", 220 pounds. He threw for almost 6,000 yards last year. And wait, there's no freaking way this makes sense. 6,000. Wait, no, wait, there's no way. 6,000 yards and 62 touchdown passes. Is that a real number?
That does not sound real. You must be reading a 2-year stat line. You have to be.
Nah. Hold on. 60. Nah. Yeah, it's true. 62 and 6,000 yards. What was he even playing anybody? Were there any defensive backs? Like literally, he was averaging like 6 touchdowns a
This can't
game.
be real. This cannot be
Like
real.
50. Like his team was scoring 50 plus every game.
I'm going to have to Google this and confirm your numbers. This does not sound accurate.
What? How is that even
Bailey Zapp.
possible?
Bailey Zapp threw
70% percentage
62
rate.
touchdowns. He threw 62
70%.
touchdowns in the
What?
2021 season. This is wild because in 2020 he had 15 touchdowns and in 2021 he had 62 touchdowns.
62. Do you have an idea? 62 touchdowns is like double the amount Daniel Jones has had in 3 years. He had in one season. Like okay, I'll tell you what. The guy knows what the end zone looks like. That's for sure.
That's true.
That's a crazy number. I guess I mean, look, it's what is it, the 5th round now? 6th round?
Yeah, I mean, you might as well take a chance
You
on a
might
guy
as
like that.
well take a I mean, you might
Why
as
not?
well. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he's only 6'1", so he's not the tallest guy of the bunch, but hey,
Wow.
why don't we give him a chance?
Here's an interesting stat about Bailey Zapp. Multiple NFL scouts at Western Kentucky University's Football Pro Day have told us Bailey Zapp was, quote, impressive. Hit 55 of 56 passes, including 13 deep balls in freezing conditions that included 20-plus mile-per-hour winds. So he's got an
That's
arm.
crazy.
Many teams with established starters are locked in on Bailey Zapp as a dependable backup quarterback. So, honestly, Alex, didn't know who you were talking about at the time, but sounds like you made a pretty good selection with the final pick in the Giants mock draft here.
Okay, well, Bailey Zapp it is.
Bailey
That's
Zapp it is.
crazy. Damn.
Very interesting. So
Zap that.
I'm not gonna
He'd
lie.
be a
I think this
great
looks like a beautiful draft class right here.
totally.
Evan Neal at 5, Jermaine Johnson at 7, Leo Chenal at 36. I think the Giants in this mock draft, locked in 3 day 1 starters with their first 3 picks. And honestly, going to the 4th and 5th picks, Darian Kinnard, I think, is a developmental guy. I don't think he's a day 1 starter, but Jeremy Ruckert, I think that he is also a day 1 starter. So I think that the Giants got a day 1 starter with 4 of their first 5 selections in this mock draft. So I'm pretty proud of us for this one, Alex. I think we did a pretty good job here.
Yeah. I say I really want the Giants to draft Bailey Zapp just because I want to say people, I want him to succeed just so we can say he zapped the shit out of people.
Let's go.
That's how my brain works. I don't care about the 62 touchdowns. I care about the nicknames
Yep.
and the action words. But this draft does look quite nice. Evan Neal, you address offensive tackle with a great player. Jermaine
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, arguably the best upsided pass rusher in this draft class. A great linebacker scheme fit with Leo Chanel, Darian Kinnard, interior lineman with offensive tackle versatility. Jeremy Ruckert, arguably my favorite draft player in this draft class, just because I just really like him for some reason. And then Brian Robinson. The back end of our draft after the 4th round, it seems, is definitely interesting, but I do like that there are some pretty good upside players there. So take a screenshot of this because I'm gonna post it on Twitter and see what people think. But this is nice. I do like this. If the Giants ended up with something similar to this, I'd be very, very happy about it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful mock draft. I really love this. I mean, like you mentioned, starter at 5, starter at 7, starter at 36, starter at 81. I think, you really we address a lot of great needs here. Linebacker, edge rusher, those are 2 huge needs for the Giants. Offensive tackle, tight end on the offensive side of the ball, and some really good developmental guys in the background of the draft as well. As you mentioned, Bailey Zapp could be a potentially great backup quarterback for a team. Justin Ross is a guy that I think has developmental traits. At 6'4", has some contested catch ability. Brian Robinson is a guy that I really like that we drafted here. I think he can develop into the starting running back for the Giants if they do move on from Saquon Barkley after the 2022 season. So personally, love this draft class. Think we knocked it out of the park. I'd give it a solid A minus. I think the only thing that could be bringing it down is the fact that we didn't really address the defensive backfield. Didn't really get a cornerback until pick 173. No safety taken. So I probably would have went ahead if we were to redo this and gone with maybe a defensive back at 67 rather than Darian Kinnard. Maybe try and address that need. But overall, A minus in my eyes. You got some really good starters in here and some really good guys that are going to be long-term building blocks for the Giants. So I love this mock draft, and I really hope that the Giants weekend looks something really similar to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, let us know what you think about this mock draft in the comment section below on YouTube. Much love for tuning into the final mock draft. As we look forward to the draft tomorrow, it's going to be extremely exciting. We'll be posting our live reactions right after the picks happen, so it'll be hype. I'm really excited to see what the Giants do. I really don't know what they're going to do, but I don't think they can really mess this up. I feel pretty confident that Joe Schoen and Brian Dable and the new coaching staff and management are going to do the right thing here and put us in a spot that we can improve and really lay the foundation for the future. But make sure to like and subscribe as always, my friends. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.